you are. All right, I'm just going to lay down a rule real quick because we didn't talk about rules. You're just here. We're going to keep this polite and nice. And if it's just going to turn into like a shit fest, I'm just going to bounce you. Okay. All right.
Fair.
Okay. So I said what I said. Did you wanted to, I mean, first of all, I do want to say I think it's completely rude for you to ever ask me or any other former Scientologist as a survivor if we're working for Scientology. I think that's the most outrageous. Would you ask a Holocaust survivor if they were working for Adolf Hitler?
If they were doing things that Adolf Hitler were doing, yes, I would.
Wow. Okay. I think
That's a
that's
loaded
completely.
question, though. That's a loaded question, but you want a response.
It's not a loaded question because I don't think that talking about factual events as they have occurred and your legal case, which is public record, that right now has nothing to do with Scientology. None of those charges that you're facing right now are specifically from or about Scientology. To say that that's the facts of the matter, unless I'm completely misinformed from what I'm reading in the public record.
I think you might be completely misinformed.
Okay.
I don't know how how I could have a hate crime and it be
You don't.
not
That
a
was
church.
dismissed. That was dismissed. I'm talking about the case as it stands right now, as of August 8th. There are no hate crimes that you are charged with. Those were all dismissed.
I actually wasn't charged. Well, yes, I was charged with a straight felony hate crime of property damage.
Right. There was 5 of them. And it was all the same charge, but different days.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. And those were all dismissed on August 8th. The charges that you're facing right now.
You know why they were dismissed? Yep.
Because you fought it in court. I'm not saying that it was valid or invalid or any, and I've already made that clear that I don't think a wreath has anything to do with Scientology. It has nothing to do with the quote unquote religion. It's total bullshit. But the 5 charges that you're facing from February 16th, 2024 do not stem from Scientology and are not in regards to any Scientology entity or person.
My 5 charges that are 422.6.
Yeah.
Those are felony hate, or those are it's a misdemeanor hate crime that is a wobbler. So
it's
how
not,
can a
422.6, according to what I can find out about it on Google, California Penal Code 422. Let's see here. Let me put the 0.6 in. 0.6. And it's an F because they're charging it as a felony. Anyone who injures or intimidates someone else due to a bias of certain factors like race, color, religion can be prosecuted under California Penal Codes for hate crimes. Right? So those aren't specifically listed unless somehow Motley Crue, which I don't have any knowledge of what his status is or not in the, sorry, my hair is really bugging me, in the Church of Scientology, unless somehow that was determined that he's a Scientologist. And so the incident that occurred there is now being bumped up to a hate crime, because in watching all of the video from that evening, like I said, there were several things that happened. Josiah got arrested like right at the beginning of the night, which was completely unrelated to the protests. That was related to something else. And then
that was no, false. That's false.
Well, it wasn't related to
Perry
that
was
protest.
most definitely.
It wasn't related to the protest that was happening right then on that day in front of La Poubelle.
No, it wasn't.
Right. That's what I mean. It wasn't. It was related to an earlier incident that happened at Big Blue where he was detained along with Solomon, and then they arrested him that night at that point. Then the second thing that happened was the fake bomba threat that like closed down the area, and the cops came and everybody came. Then the lady smacked Danny's phone and they followed them to the parking lot, and she bumped him with her car, and the police were called again. And then the Motley Crue situation happened. So there was a lot, there was a lot of things that happened that night. It wasn't just that one thing, right? So the other 5 charges under that statute during that time period, if I'm watching the video, I didn't see any point where you were specifically talking to any Scientologists. There were just patrons coming in and out of La Poubelle and the Upright Citizens Brigade, because there was a couple shows that happened that night, as had happened on the night that I was in front of La Poubelle and Celebrity Center. And you were doing some talking to the security guard. Now, I don't know if that security guard is a Scientologist. I have no idea, because other than Motley Crue and specifically the security guard and some patrons, I didn't see you interact with anybody else. So I don't know where particularly the 422.6 is coming from, other than,
Well, that
and also it's not
that crime's
422.
not.
Right, but it's also not
That one's not.
422.6 though. It's just 422.
It's not.
I'm reading the public record.
No,
So
it's
it
not
is
420. It's not.
what is
It's
it
not
is
422.
well, on the public record it says 422F, making a criminal threat. And that's a different statute than 422.6, because earlier the charges
Correct.
were 594.3, which is vandalism of religious property, classified as bumped up to a felony from a misdemeanor.
No, it's a straight.
Hate crime.
That's a straight felony. That's a straight felony.
But those were all dismissed,
not,
and the new ones that are on there are just 422, which is the earlier charges that I read, which is making criminal threats and of death or great bodily injury that place victims in a reasonable and sustained fear for their safety or the safety of their families. So that's what's on the public record.
You are,
is that you have 5
Nora,
charges.
I'm going to say that you are. I'm going to say you are correct on what the computer is reading. It's reading 422 subsection F. What my actual charges are 422.6 and not 422.7, which is a felony hate crime enhancement. And so the 5 vandalism charges are now 422.6. The La Poubelle incident is a whole different charging number. It's the 6th charge. There's 5 422s.
And then the first charge number 1, which carried over from the original 6 charges, is the 245. Is the DWA. Right.
Yeah. And so do you think that he should have been arrested for assault on cam for breaking his phone and causing $100 in damage?
Yeah, and for smoking marijuana in public, and also for being
blowing in someone's face,
and also for flicking not just 1 but 2 lit implements at people. I think absolutely that he should have been arrested. Yeah, I don't have a disagreement with that. His behavior was not okay either.
Yeah. And you are correct that it doesn't have anything to do with Scientology. In a way, Danny Masterson was a Scientologist. So because we were protesting La Poubelle, that by default it's Scientology. And you are correct on that. I guess you don't see the full picture is that that's not what the prosecutor is alleging. That's not what the prosecutor in the anti-slap case that we won. It was not a Scientology establishment. In the case against Jaden Wheeler, that was a Scientology restaurant, and that case was used against me in that case.
What was that?
That was the Jaden Wheeler when they put the restraining order on June 3rd, 2023 for me trying to allegedly run over Jaden Wheeler with a car.
Oh, I did. Yeah.
Vehicular manslaughter is what they accused me of in the restraining order. Murder and arson for Kendrick Moxon, which if you're familiar with in Leah Remney's lawsuit, she in her lawsuit, they mentioned a guy a year earlier who was charged with the same thing, vehicular manslaughter, and Moxon wanted him to plea out and say that the aftermath series forced him to commit the crimes.
Right. That one I know, the guy who went in there with the hammer or whatever and was like wilding. Yeah.
He went and dropped flyers in front of the thing that said Scientology is cold.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so my case specifically for why it passed the probable cause hearing and didn't get dismissed was because the flyers that I put up said Scientology is a cult.
So that and I'm just asking because like when I look at the public record, it doesn't say that, and that's not, I mean, it took them 2 weeks to update it with the charges that the DA had filed to put anything in there anyway. So
Correct.
the speed with which that portal it gets updated or the accuracy of it could be debated, I'm sure, but you know that I mean that would be important that if it is point I mean I don't you obviously have your documents which are yours, they're not public, and like you did make a good point where people were like, where's the transcripts, that you do have to pay for those. That's not transcripts of any
Well,
court proceeding are not provided for the public
correct.
unless it's like a government case and you can and then through FOIA those get distributed to the public. But if I want to see the transcripts of your case, I have to pay a fee and then I can download those, right? But in some cases you can't get
I
any transcripts.
well, listening to you, you are mostly correct. In probable cause, during the probable cause hearings, the transcripts are provided for free.
Okay.
Right now, I only have half of the transcripts. I am currently trying to contact a prosecutor and get the other half of the probable cause hearing transcripts, which I will share so that you can see it is very much about Scientology. And you might hate me, and that's okay.
I don't hate
But
you. I don't have
and
hate in my heart
you
for
could
you.
dislike me, but
Okay.
this my case, as much as it is about my self-preservation, it's also much bigger because anybody who put out a Scientology flyer that said it's a cult can be, from what they're prosecuting me on now, can be charged with a felony hate crime.
Mm,
And that doesn't include halftime in the jail system where it's 50%.
right.
Because of the hate crime designation, you have to serve 80% or more of that sentence. So anyone who put up a thing, even chalking on the ground, is considered vandalism.
Right. Depending
It
on
doesn't have to do permanent damage.
well, it depends. I think that depends on a like jurisdiction statute, how they view that. Like here in Portland, you're allowed to put chalk on the sidewalk on public sidewalks as long as it's washable. It does not meet the vandalism statute. But in some
Yeah,
places you can't do any of that. That's why I told people long ago, like check your local statutes because what works in Los Angeles or anywhere else could be totally wrong. Like here in Portland, you can't use a bullhorn like ever unless you have a permit, right? But in some places you can have a bullhorn wherever you want. They don't care. So it just really things like that are very individual between even county to county in different states will have different ordinances on
correct,
that kind of stuff.
correct.
But my main okay, so that is important information that I will absolutely digest. I look forward to seeing the transcripts for sure to like, look through them and see because my thing on this is that I I don't ever want Scientology to have any foothold legally anywhere to prevent anybody, not just people like me who grew up in it and were abused by it, but anybody from having the right to say, "Hey, that's an abusive place and you shouldn't bring anybody there, you shouldn't go there." Or even to tell people like things that I have heard you say in the past and like what Ashley has been saying to people recently like, "Hey, you're worth more than $47 a week." Like that should be within our purview to encourage people to leave those institutions and things like that. Where I and the point that I made earlier is that I feel like when and I don't think that you're not taking your case seriously because I saw your face when shit went sideways a couple times and I could see from your facial expression that this was very serious to you that this is your life. This is not it's not nothing. This is not I understand that those proceedings are definitely not a joke for you. Where I get agitated and where things get like really upsetting for me is when, for me personally, obviously, you calling me Pat and mocking me. Thank you, Charlie. It's just Elliot. Go say hi. And you mocking me personally That's upsetting to me. Like, I'm not gonna lie about that. I do take that personally. I know it's meant personally. And that's upsetting to me. It's upsetting to make my trauma into a character for your personal entertainment and for the entertainment of your audience. Now, is that make it illegal? No, that's not an illegal, that's not against the law for you to make fun of me. That's not a law that you're breaking. I just think it's mean, right? And there's a difference. This is YouTube. You can do whatever the fuck you want. I'm not in charge of you. But I feel like it's disingenuous for you to claim to be a warrior for justice against Scientology and then at the same time make fun of and demean people like me. I'm not the only one that you've done that to, who are survivors of it. And I don't think those two things go together, right? It just like one cancels the other out, and it just like that's where my support of you goes away. Not the support of you not being falsely convicted for Scientology's vendetta against truth coming out about them. Those are, I see those two things as two separate entities, right? But it makes it hard for me to want to champion you when I feel like you're completely disingenuous.
Valid. And for the court case, like I went to Henry's case, I thought he was a complete moron, but I went because I believed in that we should all be going to the court cases no matter what we think or believe. For the Pat thing didn't come till after you and Audit started calling me Osa. And so if your feelings are to be validated, then you have to also say that my feelings could be validated. And Laura actually brought that up in your conversation when you were talking about OSA, that you shouldn't just be labeling someone OSA, and that just kind of turned into a shouting match, which it kind of felt like what you guys know, that you guys have been taught in Scientology on how to interact with people. Sometimes you just kind of browbeat it into existence.
Mm-hmm.
But how can I be OSA and have an ankle monitor for 4 months, be fighting felony hate crimes for 10 years? How can any of that make sense? Now, if you want to say that maybe I'm OSA adjacent, that some of the actions I'm doing are OSA,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't say this Pat stuff. And I use Pat because Pat, you specifically said that you, just they have the same haircut and they kind of have some of the same mannerisms as you. You made it into some type of attack on your sexuality, which it wasn't. It was just poking fun
is
of someone.
is an ambiguous character from SNL for people who don't know, who was made fun of for the entirety of its time on SNL as somebody who no one could tell if it was a man or a woman, and they would do these like cliffhangers. Is Pat going to go in the men's room or the ladies' room? Oh, they're going in the family stall, like, and it was always this thing where, like it's a joke, like nobody can know. So here's the deal, Scott. My looks and my identity is part of my trauma, right? If you think that I didn't spend my whole life being asked, are you a boy or a girl? Because I was good at sports and I was strong and athletic. And I had an incident, which I've talked about very publicly, about a young boy telling me to take out my own dick and suck it. And while I was being surrounded by a group of boys, and I kicked the shit out of him into his fucking penis with my penny loafers because I couldn't take it anymore in 8th grade. I'm just saying, so for somebody then to publicly not only call me Pat, which is one thing, but to create entire like lore about it, and which was honestly for your entertainment, you found that highly amusing.
Yes,
you laughed a lot. I did find it amusing, and the audience thinks that is like great. That is re-traumatizing a victim, right? In real time. I said you were OSA, and I've amended that and talked about it many times, but I will say it to you now because you're here. So I truly believe that many, if not all of our chats at one point in time have been invaded and infiltrated by agents of OSA, and that those people have posed as fans and given super chats and given PayPals and Venmos and a lot of love bombing. And this is the perfect way for OSA to operate, because you can do it through a proxy and just pay a botted account to pay somebody money, right? And say nice things. This is 2025, okay? Like, half of the views that we get and the weird comments, those are bots. It's not actual people. Like, we know this as creators. We see people, and then there's people we interact with all the time, right? Who are definitely not bots, right? And they're people who have become, in a parasocial way, very invested in our personal story, and they're rooting for us, and they're doing all the things, and it's all great, right? But when I see that, and I see actions that you do, and things that you repeat, and words that you say, and people you align yourself with, who in the past, through their actions, have done, on purpose or inadvertently, the work of OSA, then that leads me to the conclusion of, like, you're part of that. Whether you have willingly gone like, yeah, I'm working for them, I'm fucking part of it, or you've been influenced by, the money and the love bombing and other specific people to do certain things. That's, to me, it's all the same thing. I understand Lara's point that, like, it needs to be a very specific thing, like Jenny Lindstrom is OSA, right? And I don't disagree with her on that. But I also think there's like a nuance to it also, because calling you OSA may not be the exact correct label in that. But I do think that there have been specific actions and things that you've done that have definitely been influenced by the people who are either actually working with the agents of OSA currently, or are still currently heavily, very influenced by those people, right?
And who, besides like Alan, I'm assuming that Alan is one of them.
Yes, Alan would be one of them. Because he's a character.
Is Armstrong one of them?
I don't think Jerry Armstrong actually is. I think Jerry Armstrong is a guy who was in very deep with Lafayette Ronald, and then found out the truth about Lafayette Ronald, and was trying to be like, bro, we need to say all this truth. And they came for him hard, like in all of the real ways, like that Jesse Prince has talked about, like with guns and other real threats. And he absolutely did what I would do in that scenario and ran for his life. And then I think they made a deal with him for him to shut the fuck up, and they paid him a bunch of money, and this was decided in a court of law. It wasn't just a backroom deal. And he agreed to a valid court agreement, and then he broke that agreement. That's what I think happened. And that's why I asked the question, and I guess Alan's going to answer that question. I don't know. If the scenario I'm presenting, that like he made a legal agreement in a court of law with Scientology and took a settlement from him, then he broke the agreement, right?
So you think that I'm just asking this. You think that Armstrong should never talk about his experience in Scientology ever for the rest of his life?
Yeah, if that's the agreement that he made, yeah.
Okay, I got a couple other questions, if you don't mind.
Sure.
That's what I do appreciate that about you, Nora. We could at least, when we're not yelling at each other, we could actually ask questions.
Yeah.
Do you agree that the Los Angeles City Works Streets and Sanitation said that in order to have the permit that you couldn't say Scientology is a cult? That they didn't want people saying Scientology is a cult?
Well, no one told me that. And so I said whatever I wanted, and I did say the word cult, I believe a couple times, and nobody said anything to me like, oh, you can't say that here. So I don't know about that. That's my statement about that. I think that if a permit were pulled and there were provisos with the permit in any way, shape, or form, whatever the provisos are, I think that again, that's a legal agreement. And if that's the legal agreement you have, then you have to abide by the legal agreement, right? Whether you like the legal agreement or you think the legal agreement is good, those are two different things. But if you make a legal agreement, you have to abide by the legal agreement. That's,
And it's like that's this whole thing that he like broke the agreement, Armstrong.
Uh-huh.
That's kind of been what Karen's been saying. That's been their like narrative that they've been beating the drum. It's just like it's weird that
it's not
and
weird because
Jeffrey.
here's the deal. Laura DiCrescenzo had a landmark case against Scientology because she was forced to have multiple abortions as a minor by the Church of Scientology. They ended up settling that case out of court for an undisclosed sum. And guess what? Where's Laura? Where is she protesting? She's not. Why? Because she made an agreement where she received a settlement. And listen, I begrudge her 0.00 negative amount of money for what she went through. She deserves every single penny and more, whatever it is she got, because I don't even know. Okay. For what she went through. But she has honored her agreement because when you make a legal agreement and you receive compensation of any kind, then that's the agreement.
Well, you know that Armstrong's lawyer had said, "Yeah, sign it. It's not worth the paper it's written on because they can't tell you you can't violate someone's freedom of speech."
I don't think
Like
that's what his
saying
lawyer said,
Scientology
though.
is a cult. Well, that is what, according to Armstrong, that's what he said, and that's why
Yeah,
he
but
signed it. And so he's worked.
according to other accounts, specifically from the lawyer and other people who were involved, that's not what he said. So there's a lot of conflicting data. But regardless, if you make an agreement with any entity, take the ShamWow guy. Okay, the ShamWow guy was a Scientologist. He had an entire business stolen from him. The little slap chops. You know how I know this? Because he was a Scientologist. He was a member of WISE, and then all the people who left being indentured servants like myself all went to go work for this guy, the fucking ShamWow guy in Vegas, selling the slap chops and paying off their freeloader debt within months because they were selling so many slap chops apparently on the Vegas Strip. And then Wise and David Miscavige were like, this shit is selling a lot. We want more. So they basically told him, guess what? We own your company now because you're a Wise member. And they went to court. They had a big battle over this product. Okay. And then Scientology settled with him. He gave them the product and they gave him a fuck ton of money. And then when TMZ comes to him to ask him about shit that's going on in Scientology, he's like, I can't talk about them. Because why? Because that was part of the settlement. Okay. So
Well,
it's not.
how are we ever gonna?
Go ahead.
How are we ever gonna expose? How are we ever gonna expose the crimes that happen to you and to everybody else in Scientology if we're paid to not talk about them?
Well, here's the deal. Everyone has a choice, right? If you're, like Debbie Cook had a choice. Okay, here's a woman who committed a lot of crimes. And she went to court and sued Scientology for damages for her mental state and everything else. And she ended up getting what? A settlement. And now she lives in Costa Rica and she doesn't fucking say anything, which means all of her crimes that she committed, we will have to extradite her from Costa Rica and fucking prove in a court of law what she did with the thousands of people that would come forward to testify against her. But we will also never get her testimony on the record about David Miscavige, about Scientology, about the inner workings of the organization that she was in charge of for multiple decades. So, like, people as a human being have a choice. They can choose to be out here and fight and speak out about Scientology and suffer the consequences. Hi, Charlie girl. Of that. And that is a personal choice. Or if they start to do that and Scientology is like, uh-oh, hot dog, this person knows too much, we're going to give them this money. They have a choice at that moment. They can be like, okay, I fucking have had enough and I need this money and whatever their choices are. It doesn't even matter. It's their choice. If they choose to do that, if any survivor, victim, any casualty decides, I'm going to take that settlement and I don't need to talk about this anymore, that's okay too. Right? But the point is that speaking about Scientology is not fun. It's not beneficial to me in any way, shape, or form. It's not beneficial to anybody who does it because Scientology is truly evil.
It's dangerous.
It is
It's
dangerous.
dangerous.
It is dangerous. I
It's
agree
very
with you, Scott.
dangerous.
And what did I say to you over a year ago? I told you it was fucking dangerous. I told you to walk away multiple times before all this other shit happened because they're fucking nuts. Right?
Yeah, and well, I didn't at that point. I'm being charged with something that happened within couple weeks of showing up in LA.
Right.
So they've. I just think that it's just a big twist of reality to try to frame this up that this has nothing to do with Scientology.
Well, and like I said, if I'm wrong and it's 422.6 and not just 422, and guys, we're just talking about statutes in the state of California. Hang on one second. Sorry, I gotta get my dog on a walk here. That's two different kettles of fish, right? But you see where I was coming from. If I'm just reading 422, then that doesn't have to do with Scientology, whereas 422.6 does. Here, Charlie, come here. Come on. Come on, baby girl. Let's go. Good girl. Sorry, if I don't get up and walk her towards the door, she doesn't go.
Yep. And 422.55 is what defines what a hate crime is.
Mm-hmm.
So that 422.6 is within that category, is in there, and it has, by the definitions of 422.55, which defines that protected characteristics, which the hate crime, ironically, was put in place by the Biden administration for the LGBTQ movement, is what the purpose of that hate crime was.
Right.
And so it's kind of ironic that a church is, and Scientology is a cult, saying that Scientology, first off, being a cult is not illegal in America.
No, unfortunately, it's not.
And it also, it has been litigated in the time in the 90s that saying Scientology is a cult is not deprivation, is not slander.
Yeah.
Or defamation.
Well, let me ask you some questions, because it's coming. There's a lot of questions in the chat, but I'm just going to kind of summarize some points here. So
ask.
Okay. So first of all, there's a bunch of questions about the funds that you collected. Now, you don't have to answer any of these.
I'll answer them all.
But so it's been asked, like, about the funds raised for the lawyer specifically. I know you mentioned last night that you don't have access to that, like, firsthand. It's being held by somebody else, kind of as like a trust or something. And that is specifically, are those funds just going to pay for, like, legal actions, like if you're drawing a motion now, or how is that working? I know you said that 10,000 that already went to pay the lawyer you had, but you don't currently have that lawyer, right?
Correct. He stepped away. He did not feel that he could go to trial in 2 months. And I mentally have to go to trial in 2 months to 3 months because of this ankle monitor. The ankle monitor is causing great damage to my mental health. But 10,000 was spent, and that was up to the probable cause hearing. He got the 5 charges dismissed, so I'm grateful for that. I was really hoping that he was going to stay with me.
Mm-hmm.
We raised $30,000 for the legal funds. Some of it on Gifts and Go. 7,000 of that was spent on bonding me out.
Right.
We didn't raise. It wasn't all. The $7,000 was raised before we asked for the legal fees. So that leaves $17,000 that's been spent already, and there's $13,300 that Laura was in possession of, and Laura transferred it to my friend, who is in possession of that money. That was directly transferred from Laura, and
Okay.
So it's for when he made the GoFundMe, he specifically said lawyer, that the money was for lawyer, and we changed it to cover legal fees, and whether it be a lawyer or not a lawyer, the lawyer is still helping me, and he might come and be standby counsel during trial, and I might pay him at that time. But I also might use that money to pay for process serving fees to subpoena all the witnesses. and there's no shortage of witnesses. So that's going to be thousands of dollars to subpoena people, I believe.
Yeah, there was a lot of people there.
Depending, yes, there's a lot of people. I don't think, and they all hate me. So, and that's okay. I'm okay with being that. When people are telling a bunch of lies, saying that I'm racist, and people are going to hate me for that, and they're going to hate me because of who I am.
But that's not why people have bad feelings toward you, Scott. Like, let's take last night's live that you deleted as a perfect example. So last night you spent almost 3+ hours. I don't know exactly how I downloaded it. I have it somewhere on my computer, but you spent many hours completely mocking, again, trauma victims and allowing your friends to come up and be caricatures, false, defamatory caricatures of real people who you've interacted with, again, for your entertainment. And then you want like us to have sympathy for you because people that you used to hang out with don't like you anymore. Like, do you see how those are like conflicting concepts?
Was that person someone was trying to put me in a cage?
Okay, but Scott, don't deflect the question.
I mean, it's a.
But like, do you?
I mean, I'll answer the question. Is that the person? Like, if you give me a specific person, and I'll answer it. When you're talking real generalities,
but Scott, here's the deal, though. You think everybody wants to put you, quote unquote, in a cage, which is also like, I'm just gonna tell you that's like the same thing that Tony used to say all the time. Oh, you just want to put me in a cage? Like, no, you're a psycho, not you. But like, you're being psycho and you're saying psychotic things and you're stalking me and other people. Yeah, I don't want you around other people. You seem unsafe, right? So
correct.
I don't think any of this started out, especially from the people you interacted here with in Los Angeles, specifically in the former Scientologists that you spoke with. I don't think any one of us met you or spoke to you and was like, let's put that guy in a cage upon our first interaction. I think that a series of events and actions and words that you have said and recorded yourself saying and doing towards people like myself and other people have resulted in people not liking you. And now, as a result of you being charged with crimes, are like, well, tough tits. You know what I mean? Like, there's a difference between that and people actively campaigning for you to be in a cage. Like, as far as your beef with Pinche Becky, I know you can't say these names, and Rib Guy and these other people, I don't know anything about that. That's between you and them. And if they choose to go to a courtroom and talk to the DA and say this, that, and the other thing about their interactions with you, again, that's not something I've done. But that's their choice. That's what they choose to do with their upset with you. They chose to take it to a legal level because they felt it met the legal standards or whatever. I don't know. I didn't have conversations with them about that. Okay. But I feel like your lack of like internal reflection on your actions and the way that you got yourself into this situation, especially with the crowd of people that have somehow turned against you, is like a little, I don't think that's going to bode well, because you continue to do those actions and then you want to know why people aren't supporting you in the group of people that you're traumatizing.
There's first off, I haven't traumatized anybody unless you want to give a specific example of who's got trauma. I did give you a
specific example of you traumatizing and re-traumatizing me by doing that to me in public and encouraging other people and asking. Go ahead.
So is that a crime?
I didn't say it was a crime. I just said you said give me an example of re-traumatizing. I just gave you one.
I mean, I've traumatized the pedophile that I was protesting. That doesn't mean that.
Well, I don't need to be in the same category as a pedophile. That's inappropriate.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm saying that a lot of people say they're traumatized, but then they come back and they attack and they attack and they attack. And to me, when someone's been traumatized, I don't go back to the person who's traumatizing me. I move on past that trauma. Right? You don't engage with that. You don't
move on
call
past
them
it,
names.
Scott, because you keep making the people who you say have traumatized you or whatever into characters, and you keep talking about them and to them in your streams.
I mean, some of the people a lot of these people that you mentioned, they all talked about, they've been joking about, whether joking or true threats or whatever, 422 criminal threats about eating my family cat. And that is my trauma, which I've been dealing with for over 3 years. And so when those people use those traumas, and then you say that I can't respond to that or have a response to that.
Scott, I didn't say you can't respond to it.
It's just like
there's
Aaron.
a difference between like the conversation we're having right now, which is a response to it, and like constantly going on and on. Like every time, I'll just use myself as an example. Every time you're going to explain something in one of your streams, you're like, gotta do word clear, number one word clear on the planet here, and then you put on this ridiculous mask, which is
I think that's funny.
Which is right.
It's funny, Nora.
Again, it's for your entertainment. You are taking someone
it is for my entertainment.
A trauma victim and caricaturizing them in a comical fashion for your entertainment, and then you wonder why I don't like you. Like it's like you. I don't understand
you already
how
like.
How
I wasn't doing that.
I
was. Yeah. I wasn't doing that when you weren't like saying all these lies about me, Nora.
But Scott,
like you don't see that or you don't understand that.
So first of all, we had a conversation about that, and here's the deal though, Scott. I have said to you directly what I didn't like before, and then you flipped the script on me after I was supporting you, after I was like basically the only second gen you had left besides Laura, who was publicly supporting you and being like, everybody should be invested in Scotty's case and he's doing the Lord's work. And I did all that shit. I lost, I mean, between you and Aaron, I've lost 5,000 subscribers. Okay. And that's fine. People have a choice it's not like, oh no, my life's over. I mean, kind of, I mean, I don't, yeah.
Well, I promoted your channel a bunch, Nora.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, Scott, is that my support of you hasn't given anything back to me. It's only taken from me. And then when my support of you, then you fucking like started, I don't even know why you said, I said you were that's not how it all started. It started before that. It started before.
How did you lose 5,000 subs because of me and Aaron? Like if I haven't given you anything,
my support of both of you cost me subs, and then my battle with both of you has cost me subs. So it's a damned if I do, damned if I don't situation. You know.
And this is like a total little side note. Why have you word cleared L. Ron Hubbard? What's the point of that?
I don't know what you mean by that. Are you saying like why have I explained his writings and stuff, or what?
No, why have you stopped using the word L. Ron Hubbard?
Oh, why am I using Lafayette Ronald instead of L. Ron Hubbard or Ron or L or H?
Yeah.
Because that is part of the vernacular of Scientology. It's part of his reverence in Scientology to be referred to as L. Ron Hubbard, to be referred to as LRH or Ron. So part of deconstructing Scientology from my brain is to refer to him as Lafayette Ronald, because that's his full name. And I'm not giving respect to a madman. So that's my own personal choice. People can call him whatever they want. I don't care.
I was just curious about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but going back to the even like all this stuff that's been going on with Louis Repetto, I even in your little rant you had going on, you kind of took a step back from like attacking Louis, and I appreciate you kind of seeing that. I'm not sure if that's what you intended.
Here's the deal. I've never attacked Louis Repetto. I don't, and I made this abundantly clear years ago when he came on the scene. Number one, I didn't really know him when we were in the Sea Org. We were at two different, he was at Big Blue and I was over at Celebrity Center. And if you were inside those institutions, you know that we were like the Sharks and the Jets. We were battling each other for people. We were battling each other for statistics and money and all this stuff, right? So we weren't really friends. I didn't ever we saw each other at events. We were both in the same division in those institutions. So we had like similar jobs, but like that was about it. I didn't really know anything about him. And then when he appeared on the scene, as it were, and started protesting, my immediate impression of him as a human being was I got the heebie-jeebies. I didn't like his vibe. I thought he was a little wackadoo. And I was like, he's not my Jim Jam. And then he ended up on a live with me and Laura, where we were talking about the billboards with Dan Walks LA. And then she brought Louis up without telling me that he was coming up because I didn't really want to be on a live with him. And so there I was with Louis. And then Laura ended the live and we were all chatting for a minute. And then she was like, I got to go. And then it just ended up being me and Louis in the back room after the live was over. And that conversation was extremely uncomfortable and not okay with me. Like, he's like, oh, I'm so glad you came out, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, okay, thanks. He's always wearing the rainbow thing. And I was like, okay. And he was like, yeah, so you're just, I know you were with Cam, who he knew my former husband because they worked in the same area and Cameron knew everybody there. And he's like, so now that you've been with men and women, have you thought about, like being poly? And I was like, no, that's not for me. Like, good for you. That's not my jam. And then he proceeded to like press the point with me, like pushing the conversation in a very uncomfortable sexual nature that I was like, okay, thanks, bye. And that was my impression of him. Like, oh, you should, it was very aggressively persuasive.
Highly sexual.
Yeah, very sexual. So I was like, I don't want to have anything to do with this person. So when people approached me and said that they had received penis pics, I was like, well, that sounds on brand, and there was a lot of debate that I had privately with people about what that amounted to in terms of the word assault and other things. I have very personal opinions about that do not correlate with other people's personal opinions. As far as a physical incident that occurred between him and someone else in Chicago, I only heard about that third hand, and my only statement about that at the time was that person should go to the authorities. If they have a case, nobody who has had that happen to them should be prevented from engaging with law enforcement about that. And if that is the case, go to the law enforcement and proceed accordingly. Then when there was a lot of pressure coming, I did text Louis and I called him and we had first I texted him, I was like, you need to call me. And we had a conversation and I asked him
flat
out.
Delete all the videos.
Well, no.
Stop,
Here's
knock
what
it
I
off.
said was, here's what I said. I asked him, do you send penis pictures? And he said, yes. And it was just very cavalier, like, yes. And he told me in his own words, not my words, that he had sent thousands of these pictures throughout a decade of time. His estimate was thousands. And he made a joke that he was in some sort of sexy talk group chat Yahoo room shit. And people were like throwing their penis pictures down like, they're playing fucking war. And somebody else threw his. That's how prolific his penis is. And I was like, well, I didn't really need that information. And then he told me about
he's
all
got
the
like
other
a penis
websites,
OnlyFans.
whatever. Yeah. And then
he's got a penis OnlyFans.
I'm sure he probably did. I don't even know what that is. But then he told me about the 3 other websites that he was a part of that were all, one was a poly site, one was gay sex, one was heterosex, one was FetLife. And I was like, okay, this is not going to bode well, because this is exactly what Scientology tells everybody that gay people are. We're all into everything and we're just doing sex all the time. And I said, listen, if anything is real in this scenario, my advice to you, I said, I'm not a lawyer, but my advice to you is get rid of everything and get off the fucking internet and don't come back, because it's not for you. You're not doing a good job at it. And it's not going to help anybody get out of Scientology for you to continue sending your penis out. Right. And so he did. And now he's back and saying some, what, in my opinion, truthful things about Aaron and his account of things that happened there. Do I think that the information Louis experienced is invalid? No. I don't think his sexual proclivities cancel out his trauma from Scientology. However, his public display of that, which societally, not me, societally, he hasn't been doing it kind of in the like approved legal way. Okay.
But that's where I disagree with you.
Well, if here's the deal. And like I said, these are all allegations. Well, the penis pictures aren't allegations because he copped to that, and his penis is in too many places.
Hold on. There's context and nuances to that. If the penis pictures were sent without consent, and then it could be considered a crime in some states.
Correct.
But without knowing the context of how those penis pictures came, like say Mandy, for example, she does nude photography. Did Louis Repetto send his dick pictures to her because she does nude photography?
But here's the deal, though. Here's the caveat on that. Her nude photography is behind a paywall that's a business. Now, because someone has an OnlyFans, let's make the argument. Let's say I had an OnlyFans and I showed my titties on OnlyFans. Okay. And that's where I'm engaging in that activity where I can do that. Let's say that's a website that's allowed. Does my action of engaging in that activity then make it okay for anyone to send me a penis pic that I didn't ask for?
No.
Correct. So Mandy's photography business, whether it's there or not, does not allow somebody to do that without permission.
Let me ask you a question in return to that one.
Sure.
Would it be more likely that person could possibly get naked pictures because of her hobby?
Yeah, because they would have to pay for those. Okay. That's a business transaction.
Yeah.
Right? That's a different thing. It's not the same thing as sending unsolicited pictures of any part of your body to anybody, right? If you are engaging in a business where you are consenting, saying, I'm gonna photograph this area of my body with video or still photos, and I'm gonna put it here, and if people want access to that, they're gonna pay me to gain access to that. That's a different scenario.
Yeah.
Right. And Louis admitted in our phone call to me that now he's been asking for consent, but there were many years where he did not ask for consent. Right.
Well, and this is a big difference than what he was accused of. Okay, and that therein lies the issue, is that he was accused of being a serial rapist.
Well, here's the deal. If I don't, again, I never spoke to any of those people who allegedly made those accusations in a one-on-one conversation. So I don't have the information regarding that. And I do think I asked him about that. And I don't remember that part of the conversation. I'm going to be 100% honest, because I think I just got really stuck on the whole penis picture thing. And that was like where the whole convo ended.
As a lesbian, I could see where you're going. That could traumatize
I got frozen there. So if the scenario is that an incident did happen, which I'm not saying it did or didn't, like I have no information about that, then in my opinion, things like that should be handled in the proper way with the law enforcement and a court of law if the victim decides to move forward with that. Right? That's where those things should be taken care of. Where things got muddy was, instead of going to law enforcement, some people I think decided, to try and like build, people were trying to like help each other out. And I think that in doing that, then those people were accused of like making stuff up, which is very re-traumatizing for people who have felt trauma in this way, even not from Louis, but just in the past. And now it's like all of it's triggering. And this is just something that happens in society.
If Louis was accused of being a serial rapist and he's not a rapist, is he not the victim?
I never heard that accusation until right now.
Okay, see, I guess. Okay, well,
I heard about one.
This is what's interesting
in Chicago that may have allegedly happened, and that was it. Well, I take that back. I did also hear of 2 other alleged incidents that happened while he was an indentured servant in the fake Space Navy. So if all 3 of those things are true, if those 3 things are true, then the term serial rapist could be apt.
Yes, but this is the problem. Aaron is the one who put out an anonymous letter, an anonymous phone call saying that Louis Repetto raped somebody in the Sea Org, and that he didn't know who the person was, but that he believed them. So that's the first rape, and allegedly someone was raped in St. Louis. Now Chicago, that's complete news to me. There was some allegations,
or maybe it was
from
St. Louis and
Shannon
not
that
Chicago. I'm sorry, so I misspoke.
it was
on
St.
that. You're
Louis.
right. It was St. Louis, not
It
Chicago.
was very much St. Louis, and so there was also videos put out by Mrs. J saying that Lewis got a restraining order from one of the victims.
Listen, here's the deal. All this conjecture and other stuff, unless you show me the actual court documents, then I don't give a fuck. Right? Like, I don't want to see.
Yeah, but I'm saying there's this whole narrative,
and, like, whatever. But
yeah, there's this whole narrative, though.
Why is Louis Repetto's reputation or legal status as a rapist or not a rapist your fucking business or problem?
Well, because that's like my whole that's my whole thing. I'm like
do with you though, personally. Like, have you met Louis personally?
Yes, I have.
Okay, and so when you met him and you broke bread with him or whatever,
he was very informative. Yep, we went to breakfast with Liz Gale and Aaron and Laura and Liz
so
Ferris.
This brings up the point that we're circling back to our original point, which I made earlier.
Okay.
Because somebody asked us. So if we're protesting or going up against a criminal organization known as Scientology, is it okay to break the law in that protest or be a non-law abiding person and still go up against, that thing? Or does your actions that are against the law take away your credibility or your ability to do that?
Well, are you referring to my actual allegations or Louis' allegations?
Let's take you out of the puzzle. Let's focus on, because we're talking about Louis, let's talk about Louis. So does somebody who has allegations of during his time in the Space Navy of being a sexual
that's
attacker,
from an anonymous
outside of the Space Navy, a similar type situation, who has been an admitted prolific dick pic sender, does he have the standing, and should he be the person who is looked to for the most credible information in regards to an organization that hides sex crimes on a regular basis, right? And that also allegedly hid his own sex crimes.
That's if he actually did it, but there has been no evidence. Like an anonymous letter put out by Aaron, who you have proven over and over again is a narcissist. So a narcissist put down an anonymous thing, making an anonymous claim, and then saying that he's a rapist. Then when I met Louis, it was with Aaron. And so Aaron meets Lou. I'm at a table with Louis Repetto, and Aaron's already put out a post saying that he believes that he raped somebody in the Sea Org. And so now I'm sitting down and having breakfast with him, and it's not a big deal for Aaron.
Well,
so
here's
either
the deal.
Aaron's absolutely insane.
You said the key word. Aaron's the narcissist. So let's go with that. Aaron, as has been stated by people who worked under him. Now, these are Scientology hate videos, so you can take them with a grain of salt. However, having been at the receiving end of the Aaron Smith Levin wrath, I can tell you, and go back and look at Jenna's videos that she put out, okay? When Aaron turns on that part of himself, it is supremely unpleasant. It is supremely disturbing to be at the receiving end of that. So let's say in a hypothetical universe, Aaron, as Louis Sr., because he absolutely would know about this, found out about the alleged incidents where Louis, as a trained counselor, took advantage sexually of the women that he was supposed to be giving counseling to, and then basically darvoed and gaslit them into not saying anything, and then ended up being the one who turned them in, and everybody got punished because that's how Scientology works. Aaron would have been in charge of making sure that those women did not seek any sort of law enforcement and were thoroughly convinced that they were the problem. Because that's how Louis ended up in the concentration camp. Okay? So go ask Louis about that. If that's how he ended up in the concentration camp, then yes, he is absolutely a sexual predator that should not be partaking or participating in the standing up for victims of sexual abuse, in my opinion. Secondly, Aaron absolutely would distance himself from any knowledge or responsibility of this in the same way Mike Rinder did with every single crime he covered up for an entire show on television for 3 seasons.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100% on Rinder. The fact that the Aftermath Foundation is called the Rinder Foundation, it negates everything that they're doing, straight up. But I don't understand why Louis gets that type of, like, Louis can't, like, stand up against the victims, but then, like, on another hand, like, Selfless has this where
I never
he was
said
arrested
he couldn't stand up. I think, first of all, Selfless and Pearl.
I'm just saying. I'm making the comparison.
Asked to help by the victims. The victims have the right to ask whoever they want. Hang on. No. We're not gonna go into a whole Selfless and Pearl thing. I'm making a statement. They were asked by the victims for their help. They gave their help. End of that chapter. All of the other stuff that came after that was people like you and other people who wanted to attack those two individuals who were keeping the confidence of victims in their effort to help them.
No,
because
that's wrong.
Louis started
How did I attack them?
Scott, please. You've
being
seen
real.
The videos.
Like,
you've
an
seen
attack?
the video. Scott, you just put a post out on your page calling Selfless what? What did you call him?
A suicide troll?
No. What did you call him? You don't remember? I'll pull it up right now, Scott. Come on. Give me a break, Scotty.
Go ahead.
Like, this is...
I don't remember what I called them.
Yeah.
I've called them a lot of names.
So what you called him in your post, I have to make sure I'm on the right thing. Okay. Yeah. So
well,
this
he's
is on
saying...
This is... Stop.
We're going back to this.
Please stop.
Yeah.
You said the Boston Strangler, Oliver, a.k.a. Selfless Self. See, look, again, it's entertaining for you. That's not entertainment.
Yeah, it is funny.
That's defamatory. It's false.
Well, he strangled his wife. He got arrested for strangling his wife.
Excuse me. The Boston Strangler was a murderer, correct?
Yeah.
And you're making a joke out of someone who you obtained records from, whose case was dismissed, to then
he was charged
to a murder. It was dismissed. So should
he was charged, and
I call you a hate criminal? Then you're a hate crimer.
Well, he was charged, and he broke the restraining order allegedly, and ended up in a mental hospital.
Scott, and it was dismissed, correct?
He ended up in a mental hospital first,
Scott,
and then it was
dismissed. Were the charges dismissed or not?
Yes.
Okay, so should I refer to you as a hate crimer? You hate religion.
You could say I was charged with hate.
Scott,
that's not what you say.
Yes. That's not what you say. You called him the Boston Strangler. The Boston Strangler is a serial killer.
Murderer. Yeah.
That's a serial killer.
But he's from Boston, and he strangled his wife. He was charged with strangling his wife.
Yeah. Okay.
So
that person's a murderer.
So it doesn't have. It's like a joke. It's like a.
But it's not a joke.
That person's the Boston the strangler.
Scotty,
now we have a Boston strangler
who is literally in a court of law fighting for their life because of words they said. I think you should take this more seriously, because what I'm trying to explain is that your words and actions have effect on real people, and it's not just a joke that other people just laugh with you. No one is laughing with you except for the 5 people that you have up on your panels who also take great pleasure in mocking actual victims of trauma, which I find fucking disgusting.
Who I think Pearl is a victim of trauma from Selfless.
I know, but see, again, these are things that you're saying that are baseless accusations that you are trying to cause. I'm sorry?
They're not.
You have seen.
They're not. Laura, and
you've seen all. No, I'm asking you. I'm not asking you third-hand information.
I was told secondhand from 2 people, Auntie M and Laura.
Witness something with your own eyes.
Okay.
You have no basis of which to make that claim.
Okay. So I should ignore the fact that that he was charged with strangling a woman.
See, you slipped again, because you don't just say charged with. in your streams or in your posts.
He was charged with strangling. Yes, I said charged.
And it was dismissed, Scott. It was dismissed.
Yes.
So you don't tell the whole story either. You don't tell the whole story.
Well, has Selfless told the whole story?
Scott, we're not, again, I told you, we're not, I don't really care. It's because it was dismissed.
Well, no, it matters because you're saying that Selfless, you're saying that Selfless and Pearl was holding the information.
What we're talking about. Let's talk about
but we're talking about Louis Repetto.
Right. So
we're talking about Louis Repetto.
And we're not going into all of that.
Go ahead.
Because they're secondhand characters.
It's important.
Who are not the people who are accused of having done illegal actions. Louis is the person who has been accused of doing illegal
Pearl
actions.
told me he raped two people.
Came forward anonymously to talk about their experience with him in the fake space Navy in terms of a sexual assault. And that is that person's right to not name themselves.
And so the victims came. So the victims came to Pearl and gave them all the information so she could hold it and not share it with anybody except for the police, correct?
Say that one more time.
So like all the victims of Louis Repetto allegedly came to Pearl and Selfless and they were to protect that information and not share it with anybody except for the police, correct?
To my knowledge, that's what they were going to do when the victims were ready to do that. Correct.
Yeah, and so where you start having issues is that information was shared with Rabbit. Rabbit did a stream saying that a Google Drive of all the pictures were sent to her, which is actually a crime. If Louis Repetto sent those,
again, here's the deal.
Yeah, I know you're missing out. You're missing out on information.
Scott, here's the deal.
That is important to the conversation.
Again, though, Scott,
does matter.
Again,
it does matter.
Are you Louis Repetto's lawyer?
I am an advocate for
it's
Louis
just a yes
Repetto.
Or no. Are you Louis Repetto's lawyer?
If I answered yes, I would be breaking the law. So obviously, I'm going to answer.
You can disclose if you're the lawyer of somebody's case. You just can't talk about the case, Scott. So the amount that you talk about Louis' shit tells me you're absolutely not his lawyer. Yeah. Also, you don't have a law degree.
Well, it's important. It's important because the same allegations against Louis are now against Alonzo by your buddy Marissa and yourself. And also by myself, I've had a bunch of false allegations.
Okay, again, here's the deal.
You said he was a predator.
Alan Stanfield is a predator, in my opinion, because of his proclivity. Okay, first of all, you want to know why I know he's a predator? What 56-year-old man posts, not once, not twice, 3, if not more, recently, times about a 11-year-old Japanese drummer who he's never met and is not related to? What kind of person does that? The one post I could understand being like, this girl's a phenom, everybody should go. But multiple posts about an 11-year-old.
Is she a piano player or something?
Drummer.
Okay, so he likes her drumming.
Go look.
That doesn't make you a predator. Like, no,
he hasn't posted
Nora.
about any other drummers. Where's all the posts about the other drummers?
Gosh, that's such a Nora. You can't share like
Scott. If you saw a grown-ass adult man posting multiple times about a minor, you're the one that's supposed to be the pedo hunter. You don't think that's suspicious? That's not suspicious.
Did he say he was going to do something to her?
Scott, I didn't. I'm asking you a very specific question. It's not.
No, it doesn't. That's not suspicious. That's
not suspicious to you. Okay, that doesn't raise any red flags for you. The fact that multiple
that's all you got.
Over the last
she posted 3 pictures of
a drumming prodigy. That Alan has come on to them, and when rejected, he
Marissa?
On them. And no, not Marissa. Don't worry about Marissa. I'm talking about multiple other women throughout the last 25 years. Scott, go back and look at his blog.
What country are they in?
In America.
What country are they in, Nora?
There are some in America. Go, Scott. If you spent 5 minutes actually doing research,
so why didn't they go to the
people
police?
You associate yourself with? Because not everything is illegal.
Alan,
it's not illegal.
Because you were all about Armstrong.
There was no revenge porn laws and things like that, Scott. This is not something.
So you're saying he's sending dick pics too?
Known. I don't know. I hope not.
What Well, I mean, what are you claiming, Nora? Like, this is what's the problem with this whole
claiming? That
SPTV
over the
community.
years, I've said it 3 times
You're
now,
making
Scott.
all these
I'm
allegations.
going to say it one more time. It's not an allegation. So over the last 25
It
years
is.
that Alonzo Alan Stanfield has been speaking out, okay? And it's not improper for me to use his whole name because he uses his whole last name on his MAGA
Yes, I'm
Buddies
not.
website.
When have you ever even heard me say the
Frank
word
report.
doxing?
Okay, so what's that?
Yeah, and what's wrong with the Frank report? Isn't that guy the one who exposed Nexium?
Yeah, and he also thinks that Kash Patel is the greatest thing since sliced potatoes, and
Well, so does so many
Trump
people. He's an idiot.
And so that's not credible to
Yeah, but
somebody who's
so
supporting
does.
fascism to then say, this is my buddy Alan being victimized. That holds no water for me. That holds no water for me.
So what's her name? What's her name? The MAGA girl who wants to build the wall that everyone's friends with for the ex-Scientologist.
Who?
What's her name?
Joy Villa.
She wore the yeah, Joy. You had the same feelings about Joy?
You can't say everybody. I'm not friends with her. I've never sat with her. I'm not going to have her on. I'm not going to talk to her. I have no reason to talk to a black woman who's fucking voting against herself. That's insane. She's in another cult. She has another cult she needs to come out of.
I agree. I'm with you on that, but that doesn't.
I don't
like. I don't know. I think you guys.
I don't begrudge her Scientology story. She can say whatever she wants about that. That's true. It happened to her. Great, but I have no reason.
Yeah, but
to
I mean,
is
Alonzo allowed to tell his story?
Alonzo, here's the deal. Alonzo can tell his story. He's been telling the story now. Well, it's changed a bit over the years if you read all the stuff, because first he came out, he was still very much a Lafayette Ronald lover. And then he was like an independent for a while. And then he was an anti-Scientologist. And then everybody in the anti-Scientology community was like, you're fucking weird and gross and we don't like you. And he was like, fuck you guys. And then he started like the whole fight with anti-Scientologists. And here we are with that bullshit.
Yeah, but I mean,
that's basically where we're at. And
you fight with Aaron.
Now he's working actively to write about, in a prolific, very long-winded manner, about ex-Scientologists, as if he is the most expert on Scientology, that he's the most expert on brainwashing and cognitive dissonance. He doesn't know anything about those things. And he talks like he's the expert, right? And now he's teamed up with Jerry Armstrong, who very knowledgeable about Lafayette Ronald. I'm going to give him that 100%, and very knowledgeable about Scientology's dirty tricks. However, it remains to be seen if he took and went to a court of law and got a legal settlement that he put his signature on and agreed to, and then broke that. That's on him, and Scientology has every right to sue him for that, whether I like it or not, because he broke an agreement that was legal. That's just the law. That's not my preference. That's just facts.
Well, you know that his case was what was like stopping them from getting the tax exempt status, right?
I'll be honest with you. I have not read enough details of his case to make that
That's important detail, Nora.
No, I understand. But Scott, here's the deal, though. Okay. As far as Scientology's tax exemption goes, in the now times, we are now 22 years past that decision, 32 years past that decision. Okay. Jerry Armstrong, in my personal opinion, and anything that happened in his prior case, will not have a bearing on removing that tax exemption in the now times. Because if Jerry broke his agreement and went against it, then that's it. The court doesn't want to hear from him. He's not a credible witness at that point in the eyes of the law. Not in my eyes, not in the factualness of his story, but he, uncredited, however he discredited himself by breaking that agreement. Right? It'd be different if if he hadn't broken the agreement and he got subpoenaed, by the DA or whatever, and they had to unlock the agreement or something for legal purposes. That would be a whole other kettle of fish, right? But we're going to have to go a different route to attack that because he broke the agreement. That's just, that's the real deal about that. His case will never get rebrought. He will never be a credible witness in a court of law because of that.
Because he said Scientology was a cult and that it fucked him up? Like, I mean,
No,
are you just going to take, if you got the opportunity to take the money?
Agreement that he made to take a settlement. If he had never signed the papers and hadn't taken the settlement, then he is free to say whatever he wants about that particular subject. But when you make an agreement and you take a settlement in a court of law, and that is agreed to by both parties and the judge, and it is a final ruling, then that's it. You have to abide by that. Period.
That's a great way for Scientology to buy everybody off. Just like 86 COP tried to buy me off.
Scientology could just buy off all of the victims? No. Do they try to buy off all the victims? Absolutely not. First, they tried to put people into, financial, physical, mental ruin for the rest of their life.
Utterly
because that's much.
I believe the quote is utterly ruin them.
Ruin them utterly. Yes.
Ruin them utterly.
Yes. 100%. Yeah.
So do you think Scientology is trying to ruin me utterly, Nora?
I think right now that you are definitely a target of theirs, and they are, taking legal action against you in every way that they possibly can, that they think is okay. I think that your actions after being arrested and out on bail have not helped you in that case. I don't think that you have been helpful to yourself in your own legal
driving around with Scientology's a cult and stuff like that. I'm like, man, that's hurting me.
It's not even just that, Scott. I think you know what I'm talking about. I think you're.
No, I don't. That's what I'm like. That's kind of why I'm trying to narrow down what I did wrong.
Maybe that's not a good idea, but also the constant mocking of Scientology victims, of other people, of inserting yourself into this Louis Repetto thing. For God, I cannot fathom a reason that you would do that.
I could. Well, I mean, it's real simple. I think he's innocent. I mean, and when I asked Pearl about it, she told me that he raped you. Okay, and now all of a sudden he's not a rapist, and people are like, oh yeah, no, what are you talking about? We didn't know he was accused of rape. And it's like this runaround about him sending dick pics. I don't care if he sent the dick pic. That's the issue. And Shannon was lying about it all. And so I don't understand.
Here's the deal.
I don't have to bring anybody into it.
Here's the deal. I don't care about any of that. I said exactly what I said to Louis in the way that I said it, and I meant it. And he never hired a lawyer. Sorry, Scott. He never hired a lawyer to go after any of these people for defamation or anything else, did he? If it's not true,
I hold that against him.
Advocate. If it's not true, has he?
I haven't hired a bunch of lawyers because I don't have the money. I don't have the money, and I've already spent $10,000. And that person, so that doesn't mean that he's guilty because he didn't get a lawyer. That's ludicrous.
Did he go to the police and say these people are harassing me and making false claims about me, which doesn't cost anything?
It wouldn't work.
No.
Sandy did?
Scott, it's not whether or not something works. Did he do that? That's the bare minimum. If you have somebody harassing you, you go file a police report, right? Like you did with Tony D'Amato. You went and filed a police report and you tried to get a restraining order on him because he was harassing you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Did Louis do Did Louis do any of that in regards to any of the people involved?
I don't think he did because he's been staying silent because he's got the restraining order against someone in Scientology. Or did I just? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So these are the things that you can do when people are making false accusations about you, right?
Yeah, but that doesn't mean they. No. You got me caught me for a second.
That makes him innocent.
That's bullshit. Shannon lied.
No.
Lied. Everyone accused him of rape.
Scott, again,
did Louis? Did he rape? No. Did he rape somebody? Yes or no, Nora?
I have no idea.
Exactly. So then you don't accuse somebody of rape.
I
Period.
didn't.
Okay. Who did?
I don't know because I was never told the person's name,
Oh,
and I never talked to
How
them.
the fuck do you not know who raped somebody, and you're saying that there's allegations he raped somebody? Who do you hear that he raped somebody from?
First of all, you gotta like take it down 55 notches. Okay.
All
Second
right,
of all, again, the information that I have comes from a couple of the victims who I did talk to who said, here's what happened to them. And then there was an additional allegation from somebody else who I never spoke with. And so I contacted Louis directly because I wanted to hear it from the source of what happened. And I did. Okay. So now I'm remembering. I did ask him about that night in St. Louis. His story was very different.
No, it was 4 nights.
But the
There's
night
4 nights. Shannon alleged that the person got raped 4 times in St. Louis. Kate.
Okay. So again,
and Shannon said Kate's name in the very first stream that Shannon did making allegations. She said her friend Kate in St. Louis. So she said the name the very first day.
I'm going to be honest with you. I think I've watched like one of Shannon's streams. It doesn't matter.
That's important. The person, yes, it does matter,
Scott,
Nora.
it's important
the person making the
claims
claims about rape.
Yourself in a scenario that has nothing to do with you because
Louis needed to be defended.
Decided that Louis is the most important voice to speak out about Scientology.
He's important. He's very important.
Why is Louis important? Explain.
Because he when he went on Natalie Webster's channel and he was talking about auditing, he was saying things that Natalie didn't even know what they were. And so he has a lot of knowledge about auditing, first off. Second off, is accusing somebody of rape an OSA tactic? Has it been done in the past to accuse people of sexual crimes?
Of sexual crimes, yes.
Critics.
To discredit them, sure.
Okay. So is it hard? Is it wrong to make an assumption that it's a possibility that these claims of rape, which Shannon, you know, Shannon was part of a Scientology runoff, right?
No.
Did you know that?
Nope.
I don't even know the name of what that Scientology thing is.
Scott,
it's important.
This is all, but here's the deal. First of all, Louis is not the only person. I know, but Nora. Scott, here's the deal. Louis is not the only person out here who was a trained, counselor, whatever you want to call it, in Scientology to deliver those things. He's certainly not the highest trained person that is on the outside that has been speaking out. So he is not the only source of that information. Okay, that's number one.
Yeah.
Number two.
So we should just accuse him of rape and be cool with it?
No, here's the deal. Again, this is something that should have been decided not by me, not by you, not by anybody else, other than law enforcement and a court of law, if necessary.
Okay, but the problem is that you are 100% correct on that. That's not how that came out and through. And last year, when I said that Shannon and Mandy were not victims of Louis Repetto, I lost thousands of subscribers and a whole lot of engagement, besides a few other things. But that one thing, and I was attacking the victims. And now all of a sudden, Mandy is not a victim. Shannon is not a victim. The person who was raped allegedly said that it was 4 times, but if you listen to Xenu 3, the protesters out in St. Louis, and L. Ron Lyer, they said that she was flirting and hanging out with him.
Okay, so I'm gonna pause you right there.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the YouTube? It's a video. I forget. I think the BBC put it out, and they explain consent with the analogy of making someone a cup of tea. Have you seen this?
No.
Okay. So it's an animated thing where it's trying to get across the point of consent. And basically they say, if your friend comes over to your house and you say, would you like a cup of tea? And they say no, then don't make them a cup of tea. If they say yes, and you start boiling the water and you get the milk and the sugar and all the things out, and right when you're about to serve the tea, they're like, hey, actually, I don't feel like tea. Do you give them the tea? No. You say, okay. Even if they take a sip of the tea and then they decide, I don't actually want this tea, they don't have to drink the tea. right? It's like that simple. So just because someone engaged in flirting or spicy talk does
I agree
not
100%.
mean that is 100% consent at the time where something was initiated. So it's like, first of all, the thing about the Louis situation, Louis should handle that. I don't think he needs you or Alan or anybody else to be his proxy. I think he's a convenient kind of like fucking red herring to throw out there as like, oh, everybody attack this guy. Like, it's the same way that Alan sees himself, that he's this righteous guy who has all this important info and all these important opinions and everybody should be listening to him, but he was cast out, and so he's been exposing all the bad people.
Well,
and here's the deal with Alan,
was he cast?
is that Alan
was he cast
a willing
out?
participant in Scientology
Was
for multiple decades. He ran
and
an
so
organization. First of all, that's not actually the same. Alan joined Scientology as an adult. He made the adult decision to make that part of his life and become a believer as an adult.
Yeah, but you joined the Sea Org when you were an adult.
I joined the Sea Org when I was 18 as a mother of somebody who was 19 and 18. I can tell you that is not a full grown ass adult. I don't care what the law says on that. Okay.
Well, the law does say that.
My brain
says that that's the age of consent.
My brain wasn't fully
formed. I know it wasn't fully
formed. That's what science says. And I had been coerced my entire life to do the thing that I did at the age of 18. So again, re-traumatizing someone's childhood trauma by trying to reverse it on them, Scott, right there in that moment. That's what you just did. Okay.
I'm not, Nora, if you're traumatized by me, you shouldn't be talking to me.
Scott, I didn't say I was traumatized by you.
I just don't understand.
Scott, I didn't say I was traumatized by you. I said
traumatized by what I'm the subject of my speech.
Taking my actual trauma and trying to darvo it back on me. That's very Scientological thing to do to someone who is
I'm not darvoing anything back on you.
Well, to say so cavalierly, well, you joined when you were an adult after being coerced and badgered and hunted and pursued since I was like 5 years old. It's not a miracle that at the age of 18, I finally did that.
Look, I think everyone's voices matter equally. Just like you were talking about Jenna and how you were a little jealous of Jenna, and that's a fair assessment because you're right. Her name gets her into a place.
Sure.
But all of our voices, non-Scientologists, Scientologists, victims, non-victims, all of our voices carry equal weight.
I don't disagree with that, Scott. When when those voices are pointed at Scientology, when those voices are then pointed at the victims and casualties and survivors of Scientology by other survivors with non-factual things that are only meant to degrade, demean, and destroy that person mentally and physically, not based on their actual actions, then that is not. Then you've taken a step outside of this. We're in the equal Care Bear stare here, right?
Yeah, but what you're missing context in the fact is what was said to Alonzo, or what things were told about him, and how did he respond to those said accusations and claims. Like, you're missing the context of that. You're just giving us one side.
I'm not missing the context of it. I've been on the receiving end of Alonzo's false claims for well over a decade. This is not some out of the blue situation that happened with me and Alan. Okay. I have been battling this individual in the comment section of Mike's blogs, Marty's blog, Tony Ortega's blog for over a decade.
Because he was against Rinder and you were Rinder's buddy at the time, correct?
I was never Mike Rinder's buddy. Out of deference to Aaron, the president of the foundation, when we were friends,
you remained silent.
He told me specifically to not speak about Mike Rinder, and so I did not.
All right, so you were silenced. Your voice was silenced by somebody.
I've already said that very publicly. It has nothing.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. Even before,
it does have something, because that's you're not giving your audience
before the television show, before Go back and look at Mike Rinder's blogs. I went toe to toe in Mike Rinder's blog with Mike and other people for years. For years.
But what did Alonzo specifically do to you? What's the worst thing that Alonzo's done to you? He's accused you of rape?
Scotty, no, he's never, because I've never been accused of that. That's not something that I have
Did he
to
lie
worry about.
What specific lie did he tell about you?
Alan is a Scientology, Lafayette Hubbard apologist, and he likes to put all of the blame onto the people who become. What the fuck is that sound?
It's I'm getting attacked by aliens.
What are you playing? Again, this is a joke to you.
Well, everything's a joke to me. Nora, have you not known about my personality and how I
see, Scott, this is the problem. This is how you've gotten yourself into this situation with all
having fun and laughing.
Scott, it's not. If you have fun laughing about people who are surviving trauma, then that's a serious problem that you should take up with a therapist. And number two, it's not going to help you in your court case. That's not going to make you sympathetic to a jury. I hate to break the news to you.
The jury is going to be sympathetic because I'm protesting a cult that abuses children
and when they
women,
march, and when
just
the
like
DA
yourself.
marches out all of the people in the community that you're supposedly protesting against who are actual victims of that, and they say, this man has caused terror in my life and he's harassed me online and sent people after me, do you think that the jury is going to find you sympathetic anymore?
I think that they're not party to the case, so they shouldn't be involved with my case at all.
But the DA can call whoever they want in your case, and if they find people,
there's a motion in lemon
because of your actions and your words towards those specific people, it's not a crime, but it does go to your character, and your character is what's going to determine whether the jury finds you innocent or guilty. That's how
if I'm calling out people. If I'm calling out people who are making false allegations of rape, and then they use that against me for putting up posters that say Scientology is a cult, and for allegedly removing planters that were put in place to stop us from feeding the homeless and letting people know about the dangers of Scientology, then that's my sacrifice to the movement that I'm dividing up.
So what I hate to break to you, Scott, is that the encampment, which lasted less than a week, okay, and the planter battle, which I don't recall you personally going to City Hall to talk about, to the actual city officials.
I've gone probably 10 times to the City Hall thing, and I promoted
when you went to City Hall, you were talking specifically about the planters, or what else was happening there?
Yeah, because my charges are aligned to the planters. Yes, and I encourage my audience to call in
let's be specific, though, Scott. Your charges are aligned to an incident that you recorded yourself doing, right? Which is why I say this is why I say it doesn't have to do with Scientology, because all of the charges that are on your case right now are from February 16th, 2024, months before the planters were in place.
Yeah, see, that's where any of that happened. Again, Nora, man, I appreciate you because you're not like an idiot like Thomas who just gets it wrong all the time. You get it wrong here and there because you don't have all the facts. That's the arrest date because that was the only day I was arrested. Okay, so all the charges are under that February date. I was arrested.
Well, no, that wouldn't be correct either, Scott, because all of the other charges were on completely different dates, and you weren't arrested 5 separate times.
I was arrested once because they built them all up and arrested me once.
Yeah, but Scott, that's because it's all from that same night. It's not. They're not putting different. They put specifically on the other hate crimes the exact day that those incidents happened.
It's a clerical error on the city webpage that it's 422, which is criminal threats, and that they're all on the same arrest date. I promise you, that's not the case. I have the charging papers that say different. And that's the actual record. That's not just some entry by a clerk who's trying to summarize what going on in the court business.
Okay. Well, then, you should get them to correct the public record then. Because otherwise the public record looks a very specific way.
Yeah, but now that you you actually have firsthand knowledge of someone who's actually there, I want to just correct all that, because I was like, man, like, you're doing a disservice. Like, you can dislike me or feel like I'm creating trauma, or all you guys fucking hate me. That's fine, but you're doing a disservice to the other protesters who are out there now by not paying attention to something that could affect everybody. And if they could arrest me, they could arrest a whole lot of the protesters that were out there.
Listen, I am under no illusions that protesting, free speech is under complete attack in our country, not just by Scientology, by the way, but also by the President of the United States, who's already arrested one person for speaking negatively about him publicly. Okay, so that's
burning the flag.
Yeah, and the veteran who burnt the flag, which is a protected under the Constitution as a form of protest. So yeah, it's basically, that's a bunch of bullshit. And I agree that people have the right to assemble and the right to speak publicly about people's rights and violations of those rights. However, free speech in today's world has been interpreted, especially in the online sphere, as the ability to say any garbage that comes to your mind about anybody that you want to. And that's not what freedom of speech is. It's not the freedom to defame someone or to
so why don't those people get court cases?
I don't know, because there are no laws on the books federally about cyber crimes yet.
Sure there is.
Nope. Unless you're money laundering, that's as far as they got. But as far as, like, for example, when I went to the court here in Oregon with my case against Tony D'Amato Jr., they basically told me to go fuck myself because he was in a different state. The judge doesn't understand how online works. The internet is everywhere. Right? So that's what I'm saying. There are no federal statutes about online harassment. There have been cases that have been brought forth that have set up some localized statutes about it, but there's no federal harassment, cyber stalking kind of shit. It's very hard to get into, which is why your case is different, because it's about what you're doing in physical presence with your person in person, right? And
they're saying that me putting a sign that said Scientology is a cult, and another poster that said that this is a human trafficking site, that is intimidating the legal person, the Church of Scientology.
Okay, well, that in the laws of our country, right? They have the right to bring a case to say that your words and your printed words have caused them irreparable harm, whatever their fucking argument is, right? And that you're attacking a religion. That is their right. Whether I agree with it or not, I don't think they're a religion. I don't think that anything in Scientology is a religious experience. I would testify to that in court on a million times, okay? But it is what is legally okay to bring to a court of law and what is real in the lived experience can often be two different things, right? So their right to do that and their ability to make those claims is legal. It's not against the law. Do I think it's correct? No.
It's Scientology trying to silence a critic. Period.
Yes, but also
I mean, you can't Denver J was arrested, just like Michael was arrested, just like Cubs champion was arrested, just like Selfless was arrested, just like Nance Shue was arrested, and just like Henry was arrested. This all has to do with Scientology, and I could hate all those people, but I still see that Scientology is trying to stop using lawfare to stop critics. Period.
I see. Well, I think here's the situation. I think that when it is okay, so I don't disagree with you that your case may be Scientology trying to silence the critic. However, I do think that your actions against people like myself, like other victims of Scientology in the now times, especially since your arrest, has been very cruel and unnecessary, and also doesn't go to build a case in your favor during your prosecution to speak to the goodness of your character. In fact, I think it does the opposite of that. And in addition to that, it doesn't, it helps you to be more of a victim, I guess, for you, because then there's more people that don't like you. But it doesn't mean that you're actually being persecuted by any of us. Because, like you say, it's okay to have a reaction or have opinions about actions or words of other people. And I agree with that. However, doing things that actively harm another person through your words and action and theater, whatever you want to call it, to encourage others to do that is it's cruel and it's not okay. I have never said once to anybody unsubscribe to anybody. Never. Or to don't support or to whatever.
You unsubscribed to me on your live video. You made a big deal about it. I don't care.
You're right. I unsubscribed. That's
Yeah.
my choice.
Yeah, I'm not everyone's cup of tea. I don't care about that.
I don't have there's no law that says I have to be subscribed to you.
I don't care that everyone talks shit about me. What I do care about is people slandering, saying that I touched my niece, saying that I touched this. I do care about people making.
I've never proliferated any of those
I never
allegations.
I never said you did. But so to you, as I called you Pat, that's what's destroying my case.
That and amongst other things, Scott.
I mean that's, I don't know. I think you're a big girl, and in the real world, like, people could criticize each other, and people call me all sorts of different things.
Let's put it this way, Scott. If you and I worked at the same office building, and you were doing the things to me in our workplace that you're doing to me on the internet, which is technically our workplace, I would go to human resources and get you fired for harassment, and you would be fired because I would have an actionable case of you harassing me in my workplace and making my work unpleasant and impossible for me to do.
You know how many restraining orders I've gone through, Nora?
Why is that? Why is that like a Riz point for you? Why is that something to brag about?
It's a Riz to understand what the laws are on doxing, harassment, and cyberbullying or whatever, because I've actually been accused of that so many times. And so what you're doing now is like you're making a claim that you would be in a position to file some type of harassment thing.
Absolutely,
and I
would
disagree.
Absolutely,
I completely disagree, because this is why
the hours and hours of content you've created and encouraged other people to say publicly about me during your content and laughed along with and applauded and repeated, 100% you would be fired.
You're on YouTube, right?
Say that one more time.
You are a public figure.
Wow, it's sounding a lot like Anthony's arguments right now. I'm a public figure.
No, it's not,
so
because
no, it's the same.
Well, it's an important.
It's the same.
No, don't compare me to Anthony. Anthony's talking about raping my mom.
You're saying the same words.
Well, so what? Him. I'm sure he uses and the, me, my, no, yes, too.
I'm talking specifically about you saying, but you're a public figure.
Yes, but
that's his whole argument.
Yeah, well, Anthony uses that because he believes that talking about raping a minor makes it okay because he's a public figure, which is not true. Because thinking about raping a minor and talking about it is not okay. Why I'm using it is because
but making fun of me
for
being fat and re-traumatizing me and saying that I'm working for Scientology publicly, which you've said more
because
than
I
once,
just got done with a
occasion,
restraining order.
That's okay?
Yes. I've on my restraining order, I was calling someone cottage cheese. Okay, and I did not get they did not get that restraining order because that's not against the law. You're allowed to call people fat, just like thousands of people have called me fat. Everyone would be in jail. Every single one of my trolls, they would be in jail for 1,000 years if that was the case. But unfortunately, that's not the case. I'm just saying what you're claiming is like a law is. I've already litigated that numerous times in numerous jurisdictions. I've done it in Florida. I've done it in Florida. I've done it in West Virginia. I've done it in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and I've done it in LA. And what you're claiming, like the doxing, and not you didn't say doxing, but that's what a lot of these victims of DOA are saying is that I dox them. There's the doxing laws are very, very specific, and it's just not this general. And by you calling me OSA and making a false claim, that's where it all falls apart. If you didn't say anything
so I'm
about
responsible
me,
for all
then,
your actions then.
You're not.
I control your mouth and your body.
You do not. But
okay.
But
so then you have to
you
start
can't
taking responsibility.
You can't sit back and claim victim. No, you just can't claim victim
Scotty,
because you're involved in
you
intercourse.
Were cruel to me, and I said if you and I worked in the same office building, and I presented the video evidence of everything you've done for the last 6 months, you would be fired.
Yeah.
That's any HR people in the chat.
I don't think so.
Let's listen up. I'm pretty sure I'm right on that one. That's the difference, Scott. This is why you get away with it, because this is the internet and it's YouTube, and people on YouTube have decided that trolling is an art form and that it's okay.
It is.
But it's not though. This is the degradation of society, Scott, and this is why we're in the fucking realm that we're in. It absolutely is.
Or if me trolling on the internet is not why we're in
the clock, Scott, 100 years back to 1925. Do you think that two people, if you and I had met in a speakeasy in 1925, and you spoke to me the way that you speak about me on the internet, do you think you would leave that speakeasy with a mouthful of teeth? Or do you think you would have had the shit beaten out of you and you would be like, wow, I shouldn't speak to people like that. That's fucking rude.
Depending on the bar.
No, absolutely. No one would have allowed a random man to talk to a woman the way that you have spoken to me and other women on the internet. That wouldn't happen.
Calling you a word clearer?
Huh?
Calling you the world word clearer of the nation, #1 word clearer.
It's not just that though, Scott. It's the way you talk about me. It's not just the words. It's the theater art of it all.
Do I sexualize you?
It's the total mocking of me and other people. Some people you sexualize. Some people you don't. All of that though, Scott, honestly, 100 years ago, when people learned very early that you don't say every single thought that comes to your mind, and some things are inside thoughts and some things are outside thoughts, and if you say an inside thought outside, you might get a fucking beat down, right? People learned to be polite and have better manners and treat each other with more respect, right? Now, we still had racism, we still had misogyny, we still had all those things, right? But the difference is it wasn't as prolific as it is now, because people knew some stuff was the dark side. We don't give into that. We don't do that, right? Now, in today's society, and this isn't just you, this is the internet in general, okay, and social media in general, people think that they can turn on a camera and point it at themselves and barf whatever bullshit that they want, and it becomes fact. Look at Alex Jones. Look at all these guys who are complete fucking idiots telling people that frogs are being turned gay by 5G And people believe them because there's no filter. There is
No,
no
Nora.
modicum of decency.
No, Nora. Nora, the frogs are turning gay from the water. Get your conspiracies straight. Holy
That's not
shit.
what Alex Jones said.
I think you're just as guilty of just turning on the live stream and blurring out whatever the fuck you think. You're just as guilty, Nora.
But when
you don't think so,
okay. But when have I used my live stream to not talk about something or to purposely just mock an individual and encourage other people to mock that individual and belittle them just because for my entertainment?
Well, you did it with Aaron.
Nope. That wasn't belittling or mocking.
Sure.
That was talking about factual things about him that he had done. That's not, again, facts are not like fucking insults.
Attacks?
No, facts are not attacks.
Facts are not attacks.
Correct.
But like, so you're claiming that I'm live. Like, see, that's the thing. Now,
no, I claim that you say things for your own entertainment. You say things for your own entertainment, and you don't tell
I try to be very
all of the story in specific cases because it doesn't fit the way you're entertaining yourself. Because if you told the whole story, then your accusation isn't true. It doesn't hold water.
Yeah, but what are the like? There isn't like a lot of things. I just question things. I don't make actual accusations.
That's not true. I just showed your post, Scott. We went over your post. That's an accusation that you put in writing, by the way, that is completely defamatory. Yeah.
Yeah, but Boston Strangler is like a reference to him being from Boston, and then he got charged with strangling his wife. It has nothing to do with murder because there was someone named Boston Strangler.
Scott, what? And it was what?
Yeah, it was. Yes, it was dismissed.
Thank you. So you shouldn't even be bringing that up.
What? Well, see, this is the thing, Nora. You could bring up.
No. Did his ex-wife bring another case? Did she refile?
Like,
no,
I don't think so.
Please answer the question. No, she did not. Has
I don't think so.
Has he faced any other legal action of that nature ever for the rest of his life?
I don't think so. That I know of.
The answer is no. So you harping on something from his past that was dismissed by a court of law is defamatory and has cost him public. It is defamatory because when someone has had a case dismissed, that's the end of that, unless the person or the DA brings additional charges. Okay, so let's say hypothetical, Scott. Let's say you win your case against the DA here. Okay, would you want people to then continue for the rest of your life to say you're a hate crimer, that you hate religions, that you're a religious bigot?
They could say that I was charged with that crime.
Scott, it's a direct question. Would you want people every time they bring up your name to say that?
To say that I was in hate crime? Well, they're already doing it.
That you're a religious bigot and that you hate religions and that you actively work against them. Would you want them to say that?
Well, they're already saying, and I've been doing it for 3 years now. I have a whole group of people saying that I harassed somebody that didn't get harassed. So yes, I'm living that right now with a bunch of false allegations of my previous protesting. How does it make me feel? Well, it just makes me motivated to call out those people making those lies.
That's not an answer.
Am I
How does it make you
traumatized
feel, Scott? Does it make you feel good?
False allegations, they do not make me feel good. No, they make you feel angry.
It makes you feel angry. Does it make you feel bad?
Yes.
Yeah. So now you're doing that to someone else. Is that okay?
Because he is part of a group that is falsely accusing me about rape. Yes, it's okay for me.
No, but Scott, he's not accused.
No, yes, absolutely.
Scott, that doesn't make it okay. None of your actions are justified by somebody else being accused of something.
And not only did he accuse Louis of rape, but he also accused me of being abusive to Nora too. So yeah,
Scott.
no, I'm gonna call him a bitch. I'm gonna call him all sorts of nasty
Okay,
names.
calling someone a bitch is totally different than putting in writing that they're the Boston Strangler and constantly talking about a charge that was dismissed. Those are two very different things.
Yeah.
Okay. You have every right to call him a bitch. That's fine.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I could call him the Boston Strangler too,
No,
because
you
he's from
cannot.
Boston, and
you cannot,
he was
because
accused.
that has
Well, then
different implications.
why is that your
That has
fight?
different implications.
If Louis Repetto is not my fight, why are you
not
fight?
your
Why are
fight.
you standing
Louis
up for
Repetto
suffrage?
is Louis Repetto's fight.
Louis Repetto is my fight.
Okay, well, that's your choice. It's a poor choice,
Yeah.
and it's definitely not going to help you in this court of law. And if you want to contend that Scientology is actively working against you, I promise you that Scientology will dig up as much shit on Louis Repetto as they can to present in court to prove that you are not a good person.
That's what you're talking about is like character witness stuff, and it's just not there. It doesn't have any.
Much like the internet, a case can be won or lost off what the jury thinks about the person's character.
Yep, and that's I'm taking the chance to go. I'm risking my life to stand up for y'all's abuses.
But here's what
I could take a plea deal like everybody else took a plea deal.
Scott, I don't feel that your actions in any way, shape, or form have ever stood up to represent what I went through.
Well, you don't think that being the first occupation, a 24, and the occupation, I said that I wanted to do it for a week. It was done for a week, so it was a complete success in that sense. And Audit LA literally talked about that. Every meeting was about the planters for a whole year. All sorts of people marrying them up north. All these streamers called in and talked about the planters. Okay, that was what the anti-Scientology protest in LA has been heavily focused on, the planters.
So let me get this straight.
So
let me get this straight, Scott. So you planned and put on an occupation, as you have titled it, of the of Fountain Avenue, not even L. Ron Hubbard Way, of Fountain Avenue in front of Incom and part of the entrance that nobody uses to to go into the blue building. And it's a prop. It's not, no one uses that to go in and out of that building ever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Agreed.
And you had tents and things donated. You put on an event. Hang on one second. I have to text my wife back.
Yeah, it didn't cost $5,000 either.
Okay. Let me just finish what I was saying here real quick. Sorry. So that occupation, the result of that occupation was Scientology illegally placing planters all over public property for months on end, blocking their street, pulling endless permits, and then people talking about it. In my personal opinion, Scott, that resulted in a net negative for the protests, because along with the planters, which you failed to mention, they also hired endless private security. When I showed up at the protest, which was completely peaceful, on Father's Day, they had armed security out there. There was also multiple incidents between their private security and protesters. Their complete aggressiveness with protesters went way up, right? It was not like a positive thing that ended up happening for the protests because you held an occupation to house and feed homeless people in front of the big blue buildings.
Which is perfect, because now when the suits are written, when the jury hears why the false restraining orders were put out, because there was false restraining orders to stop, and that it's huge because it brought out a huge. It showed the fair gaming of Scientology, which you're neglecting to see, and that's okay if you
No, the
neglect to
other
see that.
cases that were already decided in court, like Danny's case and the scooter guy thing, right? That showed the fair gaming, and the judge saw through that and already ruled in those cases.
And Danny's case only went to trial because I put him in as the head of the occupation on June 4th. And that's when he got a restraining order, was on that day. So without the occupation, they would have never done that, because they had to stop the occupation, because we were growing and we were actually had people showing up on a daily basis, not just for one little event. You know, it didn't cost $5,000 like the Father's Day protest cost. It was much cheaper. Much cheaper.
Okay, I don't give a fuck about how
Day
much money
cost
something costs or
$5,000.
didn't cost. That's irrelevant. But the point is, Scott, is that again, your actions, your occupation didn't end up.
Was a Father's Day protest where you couldn't say that Scientology, which the permit and audit and Mona.
I don't think that the permit actually said that, and I think audit has clarified that a number of times, Scott. Again, this is like you bringing up an accusation about Oliver with.
No, I'm not bringing up an accusation. That this is what was said. This is what was said a week before your Father's Day protest.
Did you see it in writing?
I saw it on Mona. I saw it on Mona.
Did you see it in writing on the
audits and Ganja Girls? It wasn't in writing, so it's no.
So then
I heard it from Audit and Mona and Ganja Girl. Did Mona, Audit, and Ganja Girl run the protest? Did they organize that?
As far as I know, yeah.
Okay, in their stream, when they were talking about the permit and they were talking about the protest, they said that the city said that they didn't want to say that Scientology is a cult. So much so that they went to Laura and told Laura that you can't say it's a cult. And Laura said, "Go fuck yourself." I'm saying.
And was Laura
I'm not
arrested?
trying to make shit up.
Was Laura arrested?
I'm not saying she was.
No,
I'm asking.
I'm asking if the permit said that.
It's got nothing to do with it.
And we spoke directly to the cops multiple times, telling them that this was a cult. Don't you think they would have arrested us?
Who knows why no one was arrested?
No, that's because it wasn't a thing, Scott. Because it wasn't.
Well, it is a thing, because I'm being charged with being intimidating witnesses by intimidating Scientology.
It's a thing for you in your specific case, Scott. It's not a thing that happened during.
It could be for anybody, though. It could be for anybody, but you're missing the point.
I'm not saying that in the future that might not be an incident, Scott. What I'm saying is that in your specific case, you're being charged with those things, and I would love one day to see the actual charging papers, which I don't have privy to. I'm not your lawyer. I'm not demanding it. Just, like to clarify for what I'm talking about. But secondly, it wasn't a thing at the Father's Day protest, and for you to harp on that as like a gotcha isn't proving anything.
No, you're trying to say that the occupation didn't do anything. The occupation was probably one of the biggest events that happened. Besides,
I didn't say it didn't do anything. I said it was a net negative for.
No, and that's bullshit.
Okay, well,
you know how many people showed up to that on a daily basis and was involved with that, and who are still talking about it to this day? I mean, if that didn't happen,
stream, Scott, I didn't see thousands of people show up on L. Ron Hubbard Way, or people try to walk up and down L. Ron Hubbard Way in a organized protest. I saw people show up, get some food, say keep on keeping on, and they went on their merry way. They didn't join and continue to protest in the hundreds.
There was a lot of people that joined during that. Actually, there was probably 5 or 6 people that had never been there.
10?
At least 5 or 6.
Okay, so it's not hundreds of people didn't now become a
I didn't think. Well, it got stopped. Well, Scientology stopped it because Scientology stopped it because they filed false restraining orders.
Okay, so they stopped it, but where were all the people that were showing up? How come they didn't come back to find out why you guys weren't there?
Well, because there was some bad actors in there that would not get rid of people that were openly drinking and trying to destroy what was there and make it their own. And then blame me that I was on meth, which I was never on meth. There's false allegations by Aaron and false allegations by a bunch of them.
Okay, and again, did you file police reports or take Aaron to court or anything on that?
I have 2 years. So yeah, I was in jail, and I got a lot of other court cases I got to fight with. I got a multi-million-dollar cult to go after first before I go after Aaron and Streets and everybody else who made false claims of the smoking meth and the swatting myself, because I proved that wasn't true. And so those are other lies that have been told about me. But that my trauma of being put at gunpoint 10 times is not important in any of that for some reason.
Well, I have never discounted the trauma involved with being swatted, number one. Number two, I think that, anybody who would do that to somebody else, that's unbelievably cruel and awful and should never, ever, ever be done. Also, I think, sorry. If I'm not Aaron's representative, I don't speak for him or his actions, but you keep arguing around your own actions and your own responsibility in the battles that you've created with individuals, including myself.
You're mad at me because I called you Pat.
It's not just that, Scott.
Then what is it? What's the worst thing I did? What's the worst thing I said to you that's causing so much trauma that I should go to jail?
I didn't say, Scott, again, you're putting words in my mouth and deflecting from your own actions.
Yeah, but I'm not. My actions are based on what your actions are. You understand that, right?
That's not, Scott, that's not how being an adult works, right? That's not how being an adult works. You don't get to just be reactionary your whole life like a toddler and say, well, they
Nora, you're like the most reactionary person ever.
That's actually not true.
That is true, and it's okay. It's okay to have reactions and be reactive, and to not be if people lie about you to like stick up for it and be like, no,
so
that
it's okay for
false.
you to lie about me because you think that I said something that wasn't true. No, I guess Scott's phone died. Oh, there you go. You're back.
What lie did I tell about you, Nora?
What lie did you tell about me?
Yeah, I'm being very specific here. I don't understand. Like, yeah, what lie did I say?
That I'm a Scientologist and I'm working for Scientology.
Well, your actions are earlier today. That's the lie.
No, Scott. Don't dance around it. Those are statements you have made multiple times.
Well, you were a Scientologist,
Scott.
Weren't you?
Again, you're dancing around your actions in the now time. Did you know me when I was working for Scientology?
No, here's the thing. Nora.
No.
A lot of you guys
Did you know me between 1995 and 2002? Were we associated with each other in any way? No.
I did not.
Did you?
This is an easy argument.
What year did you meet me?
Last year, a year and a half ago.
Okay, and what was I doing during that time in regards to Scientology?
You were dead agenting anybody outside of Aaron's narrative. Actually,
that's what I was doing. That's the only thing I wasn't doing. I wasn't doing anything else.
Well, you were defending Aaron about him like throwing a woman into a concrete wall. You were going after people that were critical of Aaron.
I've only ever made statements about Aaron. I never talked about Scientology or Danny Masterson's case or my experience in Scientology. I only was defending Aaron. That's your claim?
Oh no, when you're actively on, like, talking about a lot of stuff, you're very informative, actually, on Scientology. Specifically. Yeah.
But that's not
but sometimes you act like a Scientologist.
That's not what you just said.
Well, yeah, when you call someone OSA and you're engaged in like dead agenting and stuff, one could be like you're a Scientologist because you're doing the bidding of, when you say things like DOA is not being, his case has nothing to do with Scientology. It would be easy to make the claim that you're working for Scientology because you're saying things that Scientologists would say.
Oh, but when you repeat Tony D'Amato, that's totally different.
I tried to get a restraining order from Tony, and I won an $18,000 suit that helps everybody because if they sue them, if they do a restraining order and they deserve one, I deserve one just like you deserved one because you talking about raping my mom and talking about all sorts of shit, man, and they put a bounty on my tires. I won that $18,000 thing because I put a lot of work into that. You guys want to fucking say I'm an idiot or all this bullshit? You guys don't know shit. And so that made it easier for others to sue him because we have case law now. Someone would have to ask me, which no one's going to, but that's fine. It's there. If you went to get a restraining order and you lost and he charged you $18,000, $20,000 in legal fees, you would have a court case to quote. So there's nothing that I've done that is I put hundreds of hours in trying to restrain Tony D'Amato from what he's doing. So please don't compare me to him in any type of way because it's just not reality.
If you don't, it's the same way of you trying to say that I'm a Scientologist. Look how offended you are. But mine is a bit worse.
Well, I could be offended, but is it a crime? Or are you forever going to go to jail? Or are you is a criminal case going to be against you because you said no? Just because I'm offended doesn't mean shit. I'm offended all the time. But I get over it. It's not a big deal. You're not a victim.
Because me offending you is not against the law. The difference is...
Exactly.
Right. So you have an actual legal case for alleged actions and words that are against the law right now.
Yes.
And in the time of you mounting your defense for yourself, you have continued to harm, demean, defame, darvo, and otherwise shit on publicly, however you want to say it, people who are actual victims of Scientology, which seems to contradict any intention you may lay claim to want to end Scientology.
Yeah, I haven't defended anybody.
Really? I think we just went over that like in a circle for about an hour.
Okay. So, well, I'm glad we were able to talk without yelling at each other. I guess that's something.
Sure.
And
yeah, I'm gonna go make dinner for my kids. I'm sure you've got to go do whatever you're gonna do, wherever you are.
I'm going swimming. I'm going to swim in the pool. So, all right. You have a wonderful day, Nora.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, rocks. This is kind of kismet that was still stuck on my screen. Oh my God. Okay, guys. Well, this ended up being a much longer stream than I thought or intended. I'm proud of myself in this moment for keeping my cool. That whole thing was crazy. I learned a little bit that maybe the public facing charges are not correct. I would love to see the actual charging documents. I don't know how to obtain those. I will have to figure that out. Thank you guys for sticking with me and being in here. I think everybody has the right to protest. I would love to see more people out there speaking truth to Scientology and making it a safe place for people to come out free of that organization. I would love to see more people of, my ilk, people who are survivors, use our collective voices and actions to make an environment for the people stuck in there, make it safe for them to come out and be a part of the world, not mock them. for being stuck in the same thing we were fucking stuck in. I don't think, I stand by what I said. I don't think Scott's going about it in the right way. I don't think he's building any goodwill for himself in the general community or this community, and that's on him. I'll see you guys all on the flippity dippity.